county and ODOT all together, and ODOT's going to join us, I know that, together to talk about this and solve some of these problems rather than just saying it's somebody else's problem. I'd like to talk a bit about Max. You know, Max has been talked about for Barber. I want everyone to recognize that I'm going to work really hard that if you're going to put Max on Barber, you're killing 2 lanes of traffic. And that basically floods all of our neighborhoods with cars whenever I-5 goes down, and a good deal more besides that. We don't want that to happen, and I'm going to really work to engage people not to have that happen. So any you're planning on Max, get it off of Barber, or have it in such a way that's going to be completely compatible with cars on Barber, because we only got limited capacity there, and we need that thoroughfare so when the freeway goes down, which is frequent and probably going to be more so in the future, we have a way of doing that. I didn't write notes because I thought I could do this offhand. I don't think I can. I'm getting too old. The key thing is we need people to be able to get to the bus. And we need to have service. And service of once an hour for part of the day is an adequate service. That really doesn't encourage people. And so I'd like to think about encouraging you to market yourself a little differently and get out and work with the community a lot more in terms of how we can do some of these things. Because there's a lot of creative ideas out here that could be put to use. And I just encourage you to work on that. And I'll send you notes and I think of the rest of the stuff I was going to say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, number 7, Robert Hamilton.
My name is Robert Hamilton, R-O-B-E-R-T-H-A-M-I-L-T-O-N. I live near Don Bach, and I have to apologize. I didn't have time to go home and put on my coveralls, Don. One of the things that I do as a volunteer is to work with Elders in Action and with TRIMET on the RideWise program. And I'm appearing here briefly today with good news. I think that there are ways to enhance and expand TRIMET's revenue because I think you have the gist of an excellent program that Jeff Ellers runs to a large extent. It's well coordinated. We're simply not getting out to enough people and getting this positive message which TRIMET has for seniors in terms of using at discount fares, deeply discounted fares, both the MAX and the bus system. I think that in addition to working with Elders in Action, if there were a representative, for example, who could be appointed for each of the following institutions, that there might be a way to expand ridership, because I think the TRIMET story is a good story, particularly given the population growth projected by Metro. For example, in addition to Elders in Action, I think you should look at developing relationships and having representatives to the neighborhood coalitions throughout the city, the neighborhood associations, of which I believe we have 97. That gives you 97 more free marketing arms. Loaves and Fishes, Rotary and Kiwanis. I would be going to the churches with the same kind of message that Jeff Ellers is able to deliver, and we do field trips on the buses and MAX with groups of say 10 to 20 people at senior independent living and senior housing. PTAs, if there is any way that we can encourage parents to get their students to use the bus system rather than the automobiles that encircle our high schools and middle schools and elementary schools, I think that would be very positive. Finally, I think that because I ask drivers, given my association with the TRIMET RideWise program, I ask drivers if they know about RideWise and if they're talking to seniors about it. Almost to a person, they're not aware of it. They know of the LIFT program, but I think you also have the possibility here at drivers' meetings to let them know what the positive message with regard to seniors. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker, number 8, James McLaughlin.
Good afternoon or good evening. Thank you. My name is Jim McLaughlin. That's McLaughlin. I'm appearing this afternoon on behalf of Sweeney, SWNI, Southwest Neighborhoods Incorporated. Sweeney is an Oregon nonprofit corporation. It is one of the 3 neighborhood coalitions in Portland, and Sweeney is an umbrella organization for the 19 neighborhood associations and 3 business associations in Southwest Portland. Our president, Brian Russell, can't be here today, but has prepared a statement for us to read. Southwest Neighborhoods, Inc. is very concerned that the proposed cuts to service will leave many of our citizens in Southwest Portland neighborhoods without realistic access to transit service. We understand that TRIMET needs to cut its budget, in large part due to the reduction in the payroll tax revenue, but these cuts severely affect those who need it most in these times of high unemployment. Reduced transit service also harms employers, especially retailers, who generate the payroll taxes for TRIMET. TRIMET provides a much-needed service throughout the Portland metropolitan area and helps our citizens access schools, shops, and services, community centers, and employment centers without having to rely on an automobile for mobility. Transit service should be viewed as a public utility, necessary for the common good, rather than a service that is discretionary in many areas of the region. Previous service cuts that rerouted some bus lines away from the downtown core and away from the Barber Transit Center resulted in loss of ridership on those routes. Ironically, this low ridership now has become one rationale for service reductions. Some of the impacts of the proposed cuts in Southwest Portland include the following. The cuts to Line 1 and others will reduce service to students attending Wilson High School, and there are no nearby alternative routes. Portland Public Schools does not provide bus service beyond 8th grade. The proposed elimination of weekend service on Line 1 will eliminate transit access to the Southwest Community Center, with the nearest alternative service over 3/4 of a mile away, along roadways with no shoulders or pedestrian paths. Don Bach has some real important points that he made regarding the problems in Southwest for pedestrians. Loss of weekend service on lines 1, 39, and 43 will eliminate transit service to many local commercial areas and to the Washington Square Shopping Center. The alternative routes that TRIMET has suggested are only available on parts of the routes, are usually much further than 1/2 mile walking distance to the nearest bus stop, and in many areas require walking along roadways with no shoulders, no pedestrian paths, and no sidewalks. We note that there is no citizen review committee or public review process other than the one we are in the midst of, and thank you for being somewhat responsive to the public comments to date. We believe that transit service is needed now more than ever, and suggest the following actions to preserve service in our neighborhoods. First, cutting service more fairly across the board throughout the region, including trimming low ridership service runs on lines that are not currently proposed to be cut. Second, rerouting existing service to provide service closer to neighborhoods that lack service to destinations such as employment areas, retail commercial centers, and schools. Third, instituting a subscription shuttle service, particularly for students or commuters who have no alternative nearby service. Fourth, instituting special weekend service to commercial areas during the holiday season. That is November 21st or January 3rd, with Washington Square being the obvious destination from Southwest. Sweeney is fifth item, imposing targeted and immediate budget reductions. For example, management and administrative salary reductions beyond those recently announced. Substantial cuts in discretionary budget areas such as travel, training, public relations, etc., and reasonable payroll reductions when renegotiating union contracts. Sweeney is concerned that TRIMET's proposed budget cuts will hurt students, transit-dependent citizens, unemployed workers, and citizens trying to cut their own household budgets, and those trying to use transit more frequently. These cuts will result in a greater need to drive cars, thus increasing greenhouse gases and congestion, and will hamper our efforts to improve the health of our communities. If service cuts must be made due to the current economic conditions, we urge TRIMET to give highest priority